Legio Enigmatum, Part 4. The war chamber was abuzz with the quiet rhythm of logistics. Hollow maps flickered across command tables. Vox officers tallied casualty reports. The storm had passed, but the business of war had not stopped. Decius Thorn stood in the shadows of the command dais, eyes tracking his chapter master across the hall. Malric Draven was speaking in low tones with two celestial lions. His Terminator plate bore the heavy scars of battle, but the golden fists still gleamed, a visible echo of his chapter's bond with the lions. It was that bond that intrigued Decius. When the lions departed, Decius approached. "Chapter Master, a moment." The black anvil turned, his expression ever stoic, softened by the faintest margin as he nodded. They stepped away from the dais, beyond the hearing of the officers and their honor guard. "Why did we come to Elysium?" Decius asked, his voice kept low. "Why come to the Celestial Lion's aid?" Malric was silent for a long time. His dark eyes searched his warrior's face. "Because their pleas for help were not answered, even by the Imperial Guard, and because they matter," the Black Anvil said at last. "Because the Imperium forgets too easily what it owes." He looked out across the savannah beyond the stronghold walls, where tribal bonfires still smouldered and banners of thanks still fluttered in the morning breeze. The lions are old, proud, tested in war where most would break. They bleed for worlds no one else defends. They stand where the Imperium falters, but their prestige makes them dangerous to those who rule from the shadows. "Inquisition," said Decius. Malric did not confirm it. He did not have to. His jaw set like a war plate, locking into place. The blade that should guard the Imperium has grown twisted. Some strike not at her enemies, but at her champions. They tried to erase the lions, not for treason, but for pride. These lions, for lions they are, challenged the Inquisition. He turned to face Decius fully. "That is why we came. That is why I gave the order. No more silence. No more purges wrapped in lies." Decius studied him for a moment, then nodded. "And if they try again?" The Black Anvil's dark eyes hardened to steel. "Then they'll find the Matadors patient, not so patient after all." The silence hung like a drawn blade. "You put the chapter at great risk, aligning us so," said Decius. "If the Inquisition do not fear the lion, why would they fear the bull?" The black orbs of Malric's eyes took in Decius for a long moment, then he leant closer. "Because the lion is honourable, the raging bull is not. Enough of this now. This world would have fallen if we had not come. The pure had the lions on their knees, and the Night Lords would have cut the last of them down. Our fleet routed the pure, and now we have sent the Night Lords on their way. Now, perhaps, this storied chapter might have a chance to rebuild, though I fear the respite may be brief." Decius was about to ask what that meant, but Malric spoke first. "I understand your team got lucky up there," he said. "Yes, we faced barely any resistance, although I lost 3 men. The Night Lords seem to have left only a couple of squads behind to guard their ships." "I'm sorry for your losses all the same," said Malric. Decius nodded. "It is war." "Brother Vortek told me you encountered a Psyker," said Malric. "Yes, and the Night Lords now have one less." "And how did you deal with him?" Malric asked, obviously interested. The sorcerer's power was not as potent as he thought. Decius recounted how they had weathered the warp fire, seized the Night Lord and killed him. Malric listened with interest, and when Decius was done, seemed to slip deep into thought. Then he asked, "Vortek said you heard him speak." "Brother Vortek gives thorough reports," said Decius. "Come now, don't be sheepish. What did the sorcerer say to you?" asked Malric. "He said the Night Lords had come not for the lion, but had come for the bull." Malric was silent again. "What do you make of it?" said Decius. "What grudge could the Night Lords have with us? We have never even encountered them before Elysium." "I don't know. What did you make of the man's words?" "I didn't think too much of it. In retrospect, perhaps he was trying to wrong-foot me." "Wise, not to place too much weight in the words of traitors," said Malric. "What will the Matador's patient do if the Inquisition seeks to punish the lions further?" Decius asked. Before Malric could speak, the Vox sigil on the dais chimed. The council was assembling. Malric turned back to the chamber, his steps heavy with purpose. "Come, brother." Decius followed. The command hall was bare of ceremonial trappings. Unlike the plains of the planet, no banners hung, no incense burned. This was not a chamber of triumph, but of calculation. A wide, hololithic display dominated the centre, casting pale blue light on the assembled faces of the 2 chapters. Seated around the table were Kojam Baku, resplendent in his golden armour, his helm at his side, and 2 other warriors of the Celestial Lions, Captain Esau Django, an elder with a lined face and an augmented eye, and Sergeant Leo Katemwe, whose scarred cheeks and bionic arm bore testimony to survival in many wars. Across from them sat Malric Draven, flanked by his trusted officers Decius Thorn and Captain Veyron Doll, a cold, lean tactician with a data slate permanently affixed to his wrist. Beside them stood Brother Lieutenant Calbron Vortek, his expression as hard as the ceramite of his helm. The hololith shimmered, displaying the Elysium system. It showed no enemy movements, not a trace of the Night Lords. Just emptiness. 3 days, Captain Jengo said at last, his voice like gravel. 3 days and not a single contact, not even a probe. Long-range Auspex confirms it, Captain Veyron said, scrolling through a list of sensory data. The Night Lord's fleet has departed the system entirely. Vector patterns suggest a full retreat into deep void, destination unknown. A quiet fell over the table. Cowards, muttered Calbron. They took what blood they could, and when it turned against them, they ran. Perhaps, said M'Baku, but they are not a chapter known for cowardice. Sergeant Katemwe leaned forward, pointing it to the holo display. We have not found a single shipwreck beyond those already known. No abandoned patrol craft. No failed drop pods. Every vessel was counted for. They took everything. All eyes turned to the Black Anvil. He had been silent thus far, gaze locked on the slowly rotating projection of the planet and its 2 moons. Now he spoke. They had the numbers, he said quietly. We all know it. His voice carried the weight of iron. Even after we struck their ships, they could have returned, and we would have lost in any protracted war. We deserted their ships before they returned because we knew we did not have the men to hold them. They could have bled this world dry. He looked up now, gaze meeting each commander's in turn. But they did not. Why? Said Decius. Malric's jaw tightened. Because they are not finished. A silence fell, heavier and colder. They left because it suits them, because there is something they want more than victory here, something that gives them greater pleasure to watch. Malric rose slowly from his chair, his heavy battleplate whirring. The Night Lords are not warriors in the traditional sense. They are crafters of fear. On the hololithic display, the world looked so peaceful. It was hard to think until days ago it had been tormented by nightmares. They may have left Elysium, but they have further tricks to play, Malric said. Then what do we do? Katemwe asked, hand tightening around the haft of his blade. Malric's voice was stone. We watch, and we wait, and we prepare. The spring rains had come to the plains of Elysium, and the air seemed clearer than it had for months. From afar, the scene was tranquil. Nestled within a small valley, hidden between thorn brush and twisted baobab, was the village of Owita. Smoke rose gently from one of the huts, Elder Jeromo's dwelling, a structure of woven reeds and sun-hardened clay. The scent should have been of morning root and simmering spice. Instead, it was copper and the ashen smell of dead wood. Lamaki, a boy no older than 8 summers, was delaying his morning tasks. He was humming a song his mother used to sing, but the tune died on his lips when he stepped into the elder's hut. What he saw made his breath catch and his legs freeze. Inside, 4 corpses sat cross-legged around a small wooden table, as if sharing a morning meal. Their eyes had been propped open with care. Their mouths were smeared with blood. Cuts, precise and symmetrical, marked their throats. Between them sat Elder Jeromo, swaying slightly, hands and face coated in crimson. His knife lay across his lap, its bone handle polished smooth from use. He was humming the same song Lamaki had just been singing, but wrong, slower and crooked. As if he had picked up on the boy's sounds and twisted them. The boy stood in the entry to the hut, his brain unwilling to accept what his eyes showed him. He took a tiny step backwards, and beneath his foot, the hut's reed mat floor cracked. Jeromo's eyes fluttered open, and he looked towards something Lamaki could not see. They said it would bring peace, the old man whispered, nodding to the empty space between them. Said the voices would stop, but they only got louder. Lamaki tried to take another step. I did as you asked, the old man murmured, head tilting towards the empty space beside him. His eyes shimmered with tears, or perhaps it was sweat. I set the table. I made them beautiful for you. You said they would be spared, that they would be spared from the gallery. He nodded slowly, listening to something Lamaki could not hear. A tremor seized his hands as he traced a bloody finger across the lip of his blade. You promised me they would not join the pillar of flesh, rising to the vaulted dark, sculpted by pain, crowded by mouths that never stopped singing. You told me the voices would only sing to me, and that my family would be left. Jeromo's eyes widened in terror, or rapture. I see it now. I see them writhing, all writhing, twisting into themselves, into each other. Their bones weep light, their tongues lash like serpents. Will I be there too? Bound in sinew? Carved into the 9th tier of the gallery? My blood your ink? My family your frame? Lamaki made his legs move, another reed snapping beneath his heels. The elder's head snapped around. You'll see it too, child. You'll see it. One by one, when the veil splits. You'll see it too, child. You'll see it. One by one, when the veil splits. The feast must continue, little one. We are all here to eat, yes? He stood, knife in hand. How else can the sun return from the hard space of stone? Lamaki ran. The boy tore through the underbrush, his bare feet slipping in dirt and dew. Behind him came the rasping breath and stumbling gait of the elder, whispering names with each step, names of his children, of his ancestors, of things that had never lived under the sun. Come back, Lamaki. You mustn't run from family. I can save you from the gallery. But the boy did run. The elder was far taller, and some feverish energy was in him. He was gaining. Lamaki dared not look back. He knew if he did, he would trip. Just as the elder's shadow reached the boy's back, another form burst from the trees. A tall hunter, caked in mud to obscure his scent, carrying a spear. Abian, returned from the early morning's hunt, stepped between the mad and the innocent. There was no hesitation. One strike. The spear punched through Jerumo's chest, driving him back. Abian's powerful legs stepped forward and he drove the elder up and then down, impaling him into the dirt. Most of the Imperium would have marvelled at Abian's stature. Nearly 6.5 foot tall, muscled like an athlete, his black skin vibrant despite the scars. He might have made a promising aspirant to the Lions of the Stars, but he was Solen, the one who remains behind, the chosen leader of the tribe's hunters, who was requested to refrain from the Space Marine trials to keep the tribe strong. He had supplied over a dozen children to the tribe, and Lamaki was one. The old man convulsed, eyes wide. Oh no, you have doomed me to the gallery, he wheezed, wasting his final breaths. You have doomed me to the 11th tier. He whispered a final word not in the tongue of men, but in something far older. As Abian pulled his spear free and knelt by the boy, his eyes fell on the corpse's chest. Something glinted. A small black shard, no longer than a finger, was tied in coarse vine around the elder's neck. The vines had burnt slightly at the point of contact. The shard pulsed just once with a dark, oily gleam, then went still. Abian drew back, heart cold. He whispered a prayer to the great Lions of the Stars and the all-powerful Golden Hunter. He dragged the old man's body into the thick undergrowth and hid it below leaves and twigs, then wrapped the boy in his cloak and turned towards the fortress. He would not touch the shard. It would not remain in the village. It could not. He would seek the aid of the Lions of the Stars. If you have enjoyed this episode of Legio Enigmatum, please drop a like, a subscribe, and any comments you'd like to make in the comments section. I'd love to hear any comments from the listeners about where they think the story will go next. The more engagement, the faster I can grow the story. Thank you.